How did Al Capone become the most powerful gangster? Alphonse Gabriel Capone, known to the world as Al Capone, is one of the most notorious gangsters in American history. Born on January 17, 1899, in Brooklyn, New York, Capone's rise to power is a tale of ambition, ruthlessness, and opportunism that encapsulates the tumultuous era of Prohibition in the United States. Capone was the fourth of 9 children born to Gabriel and Teresa Capone, Italian immigrants who came to America seeking a better life. The Capones lived in a tenement in the Navy Yard section of Brooklyn, a rough neighborhood that would shape young Al's early life and personality. Despite his future infamy, Capone's beginnings were relatively ordinary. He attended school until the 6th grade when he was expelled for striking a teacher. This incident marked the end of his formal education and the beginning of his life on the streets. After his expulsion, Capone fell under the influence of Johnny Torrio, a prominent figure in the New York underworld. Torrio saw potential in the young Capone and took him under his wing, teaching him the intricacies of the criminal enterprise. Capone started with small-time jobs, such as running errands and doing odd jobs for gangsters. His intelligence, ambition, and willingness to use violence quickly set him apart from his peers. In 1919, Torrio moved to Chicago to help run the operations of his uncle, Big Jim Colosimo, a powerful crime boss. Recognizing Capone's potential, Torrio invited him to join him in Chicago. This move would prove to be a turning point in Capone's life. Chicago in the 1920s was a city ripe with opportunity for those willing to exploit the loopholes and chaos brought about by Prohibition. The 18th Amendment, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages, had created a lucrative black market for bootlegged liquor. Gangsters who controlled this market stood to make immense profits. Upon arriving in Chicago, Capone quickly became Torrio's right-hand man. His rise was further accelerated when Colosimo was murdered in 1920, allegedly on Torrio's orders. With Colosimo out of the way, Torrio took control of the city's criminal operations, and Capone became his trusted enforcer. Capone's role was to oversee the protection rackets, brothels, gambling dens, and speakeasies that formed the backbone of their empire. Capone's reputation for violence grew as he demonstrated a willingness to use brutal tactics to eliminate rivals and maintain control. One of his early notable acts of violence was the murder of the O'Banion gang's leader, Dean O'Banion, in 1924. O'Banion's death sparked a bloody gang war between the North Side and South Side gangs of Chicago. Capone's ruthlessness and strategic acumen during this period solidified his position as a formidable force in the Chicago underworld. In 1925, Torrio was severely injured in an assassination attempt by North Side gunmen. Shaken by the attack, Torrio decided to retire and handed over control of his empire to Capone. At just 26 years old, Al Capone became the new boss of the Chicago outfit. Under his leadership, the organization expanded its operations and became even more powerful. Capone's success was not just due to his brutality. He was also a shrewd businessman. He understood the importance of maintaining a public image and used various means to cultivate a persona that was both feared and respected. Capone donated to charities, opened soup kitchens during the Great Depression, and made sure to be seen as a benefactor to the people of Chicago. This duality, being both a ruthless gangster and a community figure, helped him garner a certain level of public support. The same violence and corruption that had propelled him to power also attracted the attention of law enforcement and the federal government. One of the most significant threats to Capone's reign came from Elliot Ness and his team of untouchables, a special unit tasked with bringing down the Chicago outfit. Ness and his men used wiretaps, surveillance, and raids to disrupt Capone's operations and gather evidence against him. Despite their efforts, it wasn't Ness who ultimately brought Capone down. The key to Capone's downfall was his lavish lifestyle and blatant disregard for the law, which left a trail of financial records. In 1931, the federal government indicted Capone on charges of tax evasion. This might seem like a minor offense compared to his other crimes, but it was enough to secure his conviction. After a high-profile trial, Capone was found guilty and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. Capone's time in prison was marked by further decline. He was initially sent to the Atlanta U.S. Penitentiary, but was later transferred to Alcatraz, the infamous island prison in San Francisco Bay, to prevent him from continuing to run his criminal empire from behind bars. While in prison, Capone's health deteriorated due to complications from syphilis, which he had contracted years earlier. By the time of his release in 1939, he was a shadow of his former self, both mentally and physically. Capone spent the last years of his life in relative obscurity at his mansion in Palm Island, Florida. He died on January 25, 1947, at the age of 48. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy as one of the most notorious gangsters in American history endures. To understand how Capone became so powerful, it's essential to examine the broader context of the era in which he lived. The Prohibition era was a time of great social and economic upheaval in the United States. States. The ban on alcohol created a vast underground economy that was ripe for exploitation by those willing to operate outside the law. Gangsters like Capone thrived in this environment, using a combination of violence, bribery, and strategic alliances to build their empires. Capone's ability to navigate this complex landscape was a key factor in his rise to power. He understood the importance of controlling not just the supply of illegal alcohol, but also the means of distribution and the political and legal institutions that could either hinder or help his operations. By bribing police officers, judges, and politicians, Capone ensured that his business could continue to operate with relative impunity. Another critical aspect of Capone's power was his ability to instill fear in his rivals and maintain loyalty among his followers. He was known for his violent tactics, but he also used charisma and generosity to build a loyal network of associates. This combination of fear and loyalty was crucial in maintaining his control over Chicago's underworld. Capone's story is also a cautionary tale about the limits of power and the consequences of living a life of crime. Despite his initial success, Capone's empire was ultimately unsustainable. The same tactics that helped him rise to power also attracted the attention of law enforcement and the federal government, leading to his eventual downfall. Moreover, Capone's lavish lifestyle and desire for public recognition ultimately contributed to his undoing. His ostentatious displays of wealth and disregard for the law made him a prime target for prosecution. In the end, it was not his violent crimes, but rather his financial misdeeds that led to his conviction and imprisonment. In retrospect, Capone's rise and fall offer valuable insights into the dynamics of organized crime and the broader social and economic conditions of the Prohibition era. His story highlights the ways in which individuals can exploit systemic weaknesses and the inevitable consequences of such exploitation. While Capone is often remembered for his brutality and criminality, his legacy also serves as a reminder of the complexities and contradictions of the era in which he lived. Today, Al Capone remains a symbol of the gangster era, a larger-than-life figure whose life and crimes continue to fascinate and intrigue. His story has been the subject of countless books, films, and television shows, each offering a different perspective on his life and legacy. Despite the passage of time, the legend of Al Capone endures, a testament to the enduring allure of one of America's most infamous criminals. As we reflect on Capone's life, it is essential to consider the broader implications of his story. His rise to power was made possible by a combination of social, economic, and political factors that created an environment in which organized crime could thrive. Understanding these factors can help us better understand the challenges and complexities of combating organized crime in the present day. Furthermore, Capone's story serves as a reminder of the importance of law enforcement and the rule of law in maintaining social order. While Capone was eventually brought to justice, his ability to operate with relative impunity for so many years underscores the need for robust and effective legal and regulatory frameworks to prevent and combat criminal activity. In conclusion, Al Capone's journey from a Brooklyn tenement to the top of Chicago's criminal underworld is a story of ambition, ruthlessness, and the pursuit of power. His rise to power was facilitated by the unique conditions of the Prohibition era, but it was his intelligence, strategic acumen, and willingness to use violence that set him apart from other gangsters of his time. However, his story also serves as a cautionary tale about the limits of power and the consequences of a life of crime. As we continue to study and learn from Capone's life, we gain valuable insights into the dynamics of organized crime and the broader social and economic conditions that allow it to flourish. If you enjoyed this epic journey, please subscribe to our channel for more thrilling historical tales. Don't miss out on new videos. Hit the notification bell to stay updated.